Hello, and welcome to Locutors of Trek, Supplemental, the podcast where we talk about the people, places, and things of Star Trek. So, grab yourself a Tarkalian or Cardassian red leaf tea, and join us far beyond the stars.
Locutors of Trek.
Program initiated. Enter when ready.
Well, hello. It's me, Dave.
And me, Davin,
We are returning here again for
for episode 3, 4,
Indeed.
5, 6, 7, 8.
of our supplemental series.
No, 3.
This is episode 3, and this one, as you may have guessed from our very jazzy intro there, is this one's about lower decks.
We are the Locutors of Decks.
Indeed. Locutors
of Decks. I love lower decks. I love Locutors of Trek too, but I also love lower decks.
Yeah, lower decks, for those who, I don't know how you haven't heard of it, but maybe you haven't, and if not, then you're in for a treat.
Maybe you're on those upper decks and you just don't know what's going
That's
down
true.
there on the lower decks.
It's a brand new animated Star Trek series that began airing this fall. Is that right? And it described itself as being about the support crew of one of the least important ships in Starfleet, the USS Cerritos.
Little hills.
That's right.
Yeah.
A California class cruiser, I think.
Pretty ship, I like it.
Well, they're lovely ships.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do have a question about how the ship works, just right off the top.
Mm-hmm.
It's about turbo lift placement.
Yes, oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Because you know how all the turbo lifts would have to go through those pylons to get to the engineering hull, which seems busy. But that's my only real design question. But otherwise, it's a lovely ship. Has an interior design reminiscent of a few periods of ship design. You know, those great bunks that the lower decks crew are sleeping in feel very much like the interior, say, of a Constellation class, the sort of crew spaces we saw there, even if they were in rooms in that instance, they had that sort of a feel about them. Other parts of the ship felt very much like a somewhere between an Intrepid and a Defiant class in terms of design inside. And then you had the sort of lounge space, which was a really neat kind of interior space we haven't seen on a starship before, but was reminiscent for me of the bar for whatever reason, it was reminiscent of the bar interior in the old, I guess it was like a K5 style station on the Trouble with Tribbles episode of the original series, and then of course its DS9 counterpart. Kind of reminded me of that bar a little bit.
Yeah.
And I like that about it.
Yeah, it's nice. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice ship.
Yeah, lovely bridge setup.
It's got a bad rap. It's a good ship.
Yeah. Tougher than they
crew.
look.
Good crew.
Yeah. So captained by Carol Freeman.
Carol Freeman, First Officer or Commander Ransom.
Mm-hmm. Both humans. And they have quite a diverse crew. Bajoran Tactical Officer, Acacian Medical Officer.
Shax is great.
Ta'ana. Yeah.
She's just a grumpy kitty. She's very much a kitty. Oh, what do they say? Oh, she's just a cat in a coat. Don't worry about her.
Honestly, Caitians are one of my favorite Star Trek species.
Yeah.
They're an artistic people. They have deep love and reverence for family,
I
but
love
they have a
kitties,
hugely
so.
adventurous streak, you know?
Yeah.
And Tana's clearly been around enough times and seen enough things that she's just not there for your BS, mister.
Yeah, basically. She's the closest character I think we've gotten to Pulaski.
But in some ways, somewhere between Bones and Pulaski almost, you know?
Then we have the lower decks crew, who are the main characters. Well, there's the chief engineer fella.
Yeah.
Forget his name.
So do I.
Yep.
Yeah.
You don't see him a whole lot.
No, just in a couple places. Rutherford's very excited about him, of course.
He's big time engineer.
Oh, yeah. Now, Rutherford, of course, is the first of our lower decks crew that we'll introduce, I guess. Sam
Yep.
Rutherford, an ensign from engineering and operations.
Samanthan.
That's right, Samantha.
Samanthan Rutherford.
Yeah. Who has, with a history I'd love to learn,
Yeah.
a cybernetic implant.
Yeah, that's my biggest question
Side
right
of his
away.
head.
I wanted to bring that up. Why does he have a cybernetic implant?
Great question.
Can people just get cybernetic implants, or does he need the cybernetic implant? Because it's brand new. When the first episode hits, it's like he's had it for 2 weeks.
That's right.
So,
Like, did he get the
and
side
it's
of his...
Vulcan. It's a Vulcan implant.
It's a Vulcan.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
That's
'cause he
why
got
it
the
was
logic
making him
circuit.
quite
That's right.
logical in the
That's
first
right.
episode.
So, yeah, for some reason,
But
he's
why?
gotten a Vulcan cybernetic implant.
Yeah.
Which I think is fascinating, first of all. There's
To me,
not a
that's
huge history of...
Wildly fascinating, and I have to know why. It's
Yeah.
just-
Wait, I suppose I say there's not a huge history, but I mean, loads of people have cybernetic bits. Or at least mechanical or artificial bits.
Sure,
in
and Discovery.
Discovery,
Detmer
Picard's got
gets-
an artificial heart.
But she got it because of an injury.
That's right, she did,
Picard
yeah.
got it because of an injury.
Yeah.
So
Geordi's visor is essentially
because he was born blind.
to afford him vision.
Gotta love Boimler's Geordie teddy bear that he brings as
Yes.
well. The next character we could bring up, I suppose, Bradford Boimler. You know, there's Bradley's, Bradwards. He's a Bradward.
Yeah, Bradford.
Bradward.
He's a go-getter.
Oh, ambitious.
He's
Writes 5 personal logs a day. That's excessive. The captain says that's excessive.
Yeah, he's determined to rise through the ranks. Well, let's round out our crew so
Yeah.
far. We've got
Then we have
Ensign Tendi,
Tendi.
everybody's
And
favorite
Orion.
Orion.
Orions are now in Starfleet.
Mm-hmm.
In what 20?
Well, now
what's the year?
maybe she's
80?
an Orion in Starfleet in 2380.
2380.
Certainly, the Orion Syndicate's still around in 2380. We know that, but
Some Orions haven't been pirates for 5 years.
that's one of my favorite lines of the whole series.
Yeah.
5 years. Oh man. And clearly, she's referencing some kind of a transformation of Orion culture
Yeah,
or
a
change
bit,
there.
or maybe some sort of breakaway
Yeah.
portion.
But it's also been true that
Like I don't think the Orions are in the Federation.
I don't think so, but non-Federation individuals certainly have many times joined Starfleet.
Oh, Bajorans.
The Bajorans, in fact, yeah, there's lots of Bajorans in Starfleet. So that's not really a huge issue, but it certainly does.
You need to be, as Nog says, you need to be recommended by a command officer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you're a non-Federation.
Yeah, and perhaps that's Tendi's background. Maybe she was born on a Federation world and is a Federation citizen, but happens to be an Orion, right?
Oh, could be.
Could have been. I'm sure there's lots of
Does it work like
Orions.
that?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. We'll have to get into that in a different episode.
Well, maybe an
an
episode on
interesting
politics
one.
or immigration law. Maybe we'll just stick to politics.
Yeah.
That might be walking way outside our expertise. And then, of course, our final lower decks character
Beckett
is
Mariner.
Beckett Mariner.
Who I put on my dream crew as my tactical officer
Oh.
in the last episode. Yeah, I love Mariner. Love the whole Lower Decks crew.
Mm-hmm. So Beckett Mariner's already got an interesting and storied career.
Mm-hmm.
She's
As an ensign.
As an ensign. I think she has been passing up opportunities for advancement. She's chosen to remain a lower decks crew member. And partly because of getting, over the years, increasingly jaded about Starfleet, I think. Some of that due to her own trauma.
Perhaps her mother.
And some of the losses I think she experienced during
Sure.
her earlier service.
Yeah, her best friend got eaten by some sort of monster right in front of her.
Exactly, a shapeshifter type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she did, as she said, some serious, weird Black Ops stuff at one point. So that can also have the effect of creating moral distress in her. I think that's one of the things that makes Mariner compelling to me.
Mm-hmm.
She's, when you first meet her in those first few episodes,
She does seem to be running from
just
something.
completely Looney Tunes, right?
Mhm.
She's
But
obviously
she's drunk.
just pounding against the walls of sort of her own, like the prison that is her life almost, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, and so watching her sort of come around to something of herself again, or which for us is getting to meet her for the first time in a way, is I think it's a lovely arc.
But yeah, okay, well, Lower Decks, first episode, Second Contact.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which, okay, here's the thing about that. They act like that's a bad thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to me, Second Contact feels way more interesting than First Contact. Because First Contacts all seem to be pretty much the same. Just like, we are from the Federation. Here's what, your choice is if you would like to
Sure.
have
You wanna
dialogue
hang?
with us. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to hang, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of, I mean, it's interesting because it's a new, society and it's exciting, but it's the same thing. Whereas Second Contact, you really get to experience that society a bit.
Yeah, yeah. I see what you mean. And I think
First
it's
to
a
get
really
to
good
know
point.
them, almost,
Yeah, yeah. Because you're spending more time, you're building links like communications and all sorts of stuff, right?
Mhm.
Now, mind you, I think we talked about this maybe in our very first episode. The whole podcast that in a certain sense the moment of first contact, at least to my mind, is essentially the foundational kind of myth or foundational story, but also the foundational ritual act of the Federation.
It's reliving the Zephram Cochrane.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? It's and in that moment,
So that's exciting for them.
you want somebody to be your Zephram Cochrane so you can be their Vulcans. And I think that's where
But we never know who that guy is, the Vulcan who just comes out and does that. Like, what's his name?
Ted.
Ted.
Um,
Ted Doc.
We're good at naming Vulcans. But yeah, I think there's and I think that's what this sort of premise joke of the whole series is, right? That this is a ship that isn't a big, it's a little hill.
Underachieves a little bit, perhaps.
Exactly, and it's like it's sort of a ship full of not the brightest stars in Starfleet.
Not necessarily, no.
But
Captain Freeman seems a little aloof at times.
yes, Shax is kind of psychotic.
I love Shax.
He's a great character, but he's absolutely psychotic.
Okay, so new seats. We agreed on tan with leather stripe down the center. I thought we agreed that leather stripe was too ostentatious. He's all like, we did not all agree. It's funny how Mariner makes fun of their like senior staff meetings and how they're so boring. What are you guys doing? Discussing the Prime Directive again? Oh, super exciting, interesting.
Yeah, Second Contact.
Whereas Boimler's super excited to go wash their chairs because they might be in there talking while he does it.
He really kind of oozes desperation. We're not here to have fun. We're here to Starfleet.
Tell that to Tendi.
That's true.
She has a good time.
Tendi has a good time pretty much doing anything.
She's very excited. Very excited, yeah.
What's that line? Does that mean we're best friends? I'm gonna die with my best friend!
Yeah! We'll get to that episode. The Second Contact.
Oh.
So yeah, the opening scene is Drunk Mariner. That scene is the most dangerous a Batleth ever seems in all of Star Trek. Because Batleths do a lot of clinging and clanging and never really do a lot of damage in a lot of Star Trek. But she cleaves a chunk off of Boimler's leg, and she's just kind of drunk swinging it around like it's actually sharp. She cleaves a chunk, a huge chunk.
That
You see
takes
the bone.
more than the dermal regenerator.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh my god, that Batleth was
She
scary.
really carved him up. Oh,
He's
yeah.
doing one of his 5 personal dogs of the day.
I was surprised, and when just before we went on, I was surprised by just how effective a story that was really recognizably like in feel, in even in some sense in the kind of tone of the way the story worked, maybe not the humor tone, but the other stuff, and just in the kind of logic of the story's development, they were really good Star Trek stories, but in 24 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's
they
there's
feel
no
like
wasted
super
space
condensed
at all.
TNG episodes
Absolutely, yeah.
with more humor
Yeah,
and things they can do because it's a cartoon, like have cations and things like that.
precisely, right? I mean, far easier to do in animation, which they capitalize upon brilliantly, just as the original animated series did as well.
Which I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Getting to see different aliens and things. They do allude that they're out there and the Federation things, but you just don't get to see them.
Yeah, precisely, right? Here you can have them all over the place, right?
But it's Tendi's first day.
Yep.
It's kind of our point of view character in the first episode.
She's sort of introducing us to the ship, yeah.
Yeah. And all the lower decks crew, because Boymler's her, like, a kind of attaché.
Haplessly attempting to help her.
Yeah.
While basically sort of shining himself at every opportunity.
You want to go see the warp core? It's the coolest part of the ship. Oh my god, I want to see the warp core. Warp core's so boring. What? Warp core's the best. Let's go. Woo. We love the warp core, but like, I think we share that. If someone, like,
Yes.
if we were on a starship, how often would one of us say to the other, "So, you want to go to the warp core?"
It's like, it's break time. You want to just
break time. You want to go have
go grab a cup
tea
of coffee,
by
hang out by the warp core.
Exactly.
It's pretty awesome. It's great.
Oh, that'd be great. Hey, Geordie, or whatever ship we're on. You know, I'm putting us on this flagship. That's kind of presumptuous.
Little break for your britches
Yeah,
there,
a
sir.
bit so.
I think I just accidentally said a little brig for your britches.
You did say a little brig for my britches, so I guess I'm going to the brig due to my britches.
Pants locker. Oh my.
First for everything. Well, second, I guess.
After that disastrous debutante ball on Ferenginar.
So yeah, Tendi, she kind of hits it off with Rutherford.
Mm-hmm.
They're good buddies.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, each of them, I think, are trying to find somewhere to fit in, while their sort of foil in this, Mariner, is trying to find everywhere to show that she is not fitting in.
And there's a zombie virus.
And there's a zombie virus.
People turn into zombies.
Yeah.
It's
Again,
kind of funny, though, zombies being kind of zeitgeist of the times.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we'll do it. Star Trek zombie episode.
Well,
It's like, this show's going to be fun.
Well, I thought, I mean, how many times have, there have been mind control things from the weird gelatinous pancakes in the original series to the game?
Mm-hmm.
To all sorts of stuff, right?
That's the game.
But this is, that was great fun. It really did sort of go into that sort of Walking Dead, Z Nation kind of zombie shtick. It was great.
Episode 2, Envoys.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one where Rutherford's like switching all the positions on the ship, where he's like in command 1 second, and then he's in.
Oh yeah.
He's a doctor's assistant in the next one, and
he's sort of slotting out his sort of skill sets and things, right?
Yeah, he doesn't know where he fits, and he's trying to find out.
Yeah.
Shax puts him in program Smorgasbord. He's like, oh my god. I wonder if this thing has a defense setting. That's supposed to be the program that gets people's asses kicked, basically.
Yeah.
And
he takes out about 8 holographic drones in a very short time.
Yeah, pretty good.
One of my favorite, I think that's the episode where he says, I need to leave. And they're like, great!
But he proved to be... Yeah.
Their reaction to him wanting to move on.
Yeah, super positive. Just
was
like,
lovely.
Follow your heart, man. That's great.
I was like, yeah, you go for it. I thought, that's one of those moments where you see the sense of, is it McMahon who says, this is a love letter to TNG, basically. That sense that these people's values really are built around self-development and the good of the whole.
It's
and I love it that it lands as the joke, because in one sense you're sort of expecting them to be like,
because it's Shax too, and Shax is hardcore.
Yeah.
And of course he's too much of an engineer to be a nurse.
Yes.
He's like, well, what happened to you anyway? He's just like, my burns. He's like, what kind of burns? It's just like, dilithium burns? How are you alive, man? You should be dead.
Excellent bedside.
Envoys. And that's also the one where there's Beckett's old friend Corinne, the Klingon.
Oh, yes.
Who apparently steals a lot of things. And of course, in the command, when Rutherford's doing command, he gets put in the command simulator. What should we do, Captain? Maintain course. Maintain course. He's like, dude, next time that and it fails, of course. He's like, dude, next time something like that happens, do the Janeway protocol. That's the next scenario, and it's just like, there's an asteroid field ahead, Captain. What should we do? It's just like, initiate Janeway protocol. They're like, are you sure, Captain? He's like, yes. She's like, oh my God, sir, the kindergarten on deck 7, it's gone.
Oh my.
Becomes the worst disaster ever. So not really ready. Rutherford has a particular skill set.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, you know, that question of identity for him is going to continue on. You know, he's going to try personalities. He's going to try moods. He's going to try all sorts of things as he goes on. Yeah, I really want to know why he has that cybernetic implant. Like, did he get the side of his head blown off and have to
I don't know.
get a replacement? Like, what's going on with that? Anyway.
I also want to know. Episode 3, Temporal Edict.
Mm-hmm.
The captain finds out about buffer time. Which,
Yeah.
how did she not know? She had to rise up through the ranks.
I don't know about that.
She was a straight and narrow with it. Pretty straight and narrow, that Carol Freeman.
Maybe nobody ever told her about it because of
Yeah.
that very thing.
She's a Boymler type. Like, he was shocked by the whole thing. He's like, that's just not an efficient use of time, guys. We can't be doing that. Scotty uses buffer time all the time, and he was trying to tell Geordie about buffer time in his own way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Geordie
You
really,
didn't tell
really
him how
didn't
long
get...
it would really take, did you? Of course I did. Laddie!
Yeah, not Geordie's attitude to how to do that.
No,
but,
he's like, no, Picard pushes me around. He's like,
It's like, well, you know, Picard also, you know, asks me things he believes implicitly that I can do.
Actually, he's not bad. It's Cisco's the worst. He just has to tell O'Brien. She's like, how long are the repairs going to take, O'Brien? She's like, about 8 hours. And he's just like, this is a situation. O'Brien actually meant 8 hours. He's like, you've got 2.
Yeah.
And Cisco wants the Defiant. You best be having the Defiant ready.
This also has some interesting stuff between Ransom and Mariner in it, I think, doesn't it? On an away mission?
Yes, they go on an away mission. She shows up with her sleeves rolled up. He's just like, Mariner, roll down those sleeves. This isn't a barn.
Yeah, they really have not much time for each other at all.
Ransom's a very, like, by-the-books guy, too, which we see more in this episode down on the planet. He's, like, a very Starfleet kind of guy.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of a Riker meets Boymler, almost, in a way.
He's interesting. There are moments of him that also, maybe because it's animated, remind me of the, the terrible intergalactic adventurer guy from Futurama.
I knew you were going to say that. Score 1 for the Zapper.
That's it.
Zap
Brannigan.
Yeah, he is a Zap Brannigan type in a way. But better. Like, Zap Brannigan's horrible at what he does, and he's just like a kind of a phony.
True. Yeah.
But
Ransom at least has competence on his side. That's true.
care for some champagne?
Actually, I quite like Ransom as a character.
I do too.
He grates a bit.
Voiced by Jerry O'Connell, who I also have.
Oh, he's got great comedy chops too.
Ransom.
Classically from what? My Secret Identity, I think, wasn't it?
Definitely My Secret Identity. Also, Stand By Me.
That's true. And
a movie that is I surprisingly like called Joe's Apartment, where it's him and a bunch of cockroaches that talk. But I used to love that movie.
I remember that movie. Yeah. That was an odd comedy, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah. Oh, and of course Sliders, which I loved.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Jonathan Rhys-Davies and all sorts of great
stuff. Oh man,
yeah.
good show.
Great stuff.
So
he's got a pretty long sci-fi history.
Yeah. So the shuttle they take down to this planet is the Yosemite.
The Yosemite. We do see the Yosemite again later in the series.
Yeah.
So they may have shuttles named after, what, geysers? Were natural parks in the U.S.?
I'm thinking maybe parks, yeah.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see where I don't know if we see any other named shuttles over the series.
Have to keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
So they go down to the planet where there's crystal worshippers.
Mm-hmm.
And they present them with wood, which was, of course, a terrible mistake because their enemies are the wood worshippers.
Yes.
And Ransom and Mariner end up in prison there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're told that one of them has to partake in mortal combat against this giant, hulking, warrior-looking figure.
Mm-hmm.
And they immediately fight for who gets to do that because they both would. Those two. Like the guy's like, you realize you're fighting over who gets to be cut in half by this guy. I believe is what he said. Like, give me it. I want it, me. So then Ransom stabs Mariner in the foot.
So that's right.
She's like, what the fuck is wrong? Like, what's wrong with you?
Oh man. Great episode.
But this is where you see how by the book he is. So he goes and fights that guy, and he's like, of course, doing the Kirk double fist smash. He's like, interlocked hands, double fist smash. They give him a weapon. He's like, all I need is my double fist. But like the whole time he's beating on this guy, he's just like, I respect your sovereignty. Marner's like so ethical, and that's where you start to see a little thing between them for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she really she deep down she loves Starfleet.
Yeah,
but she's just become
like she's a ransom type character when she's not being
absolutely, and she's
purposeful miscreant.
Well, I think somewhere along the line it feels like she lost faith in herself as much as in Starfleet. And she's just trying to show that she's not really up to it or something, right? I mean, her in a much later episode, her friend calls her out on it.
Yeah. Ransom, all right, you guys get out of my quarters. I need to work out to think about what you said. So, like, you've been working out this entire time. Gotta be jacked for those arena fights.
It's true. How else do you think Riker got like that with those Klingons in the Gorn Quest?
Interlocked hands. And then, of course, at the end there, Shaq's just like, look, I'm with you guys. Bunch of wood-worshipping freaks. Am I right? But that's funny, because Bajorans worship orbs, which are kind of crystal-like in their appearance. So he understands the crystal worshippers, right? Wood worshippers, like, what?
But that is one of the things I do love about Lower Decks as a series. They really lean into the notion of diversity.
Yeah.
In the sense that, like that the aliens they can be really alien.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of, I don't know how I would put it, sort of unapologetically so.
Mm-hmm.
They're very, very different, and that's
and some of the ones that we've seen before in like the animated series, like the
Yadoans, yeah.
The Yadoans, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good. Oh, yeah.
We'll get to that one too.
The farm.
Episode 4, Moist Vessel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to force Beckett to request a transfer. So they give her all the worst jobs on the ship. But she finds a way to make them all fun, so that doesn't really work.
And you get some interesting looks at what the worst jobs on the starship are. Holodeck
cleaning the beep filter from the holodecks. Captain's like, they used it for that? It's mostly that.
It's mostly that.
But yeah, see, that's the thing. Freeman doesn't know anything that's going on in Starfleet around her, it seems. That seems to be her whole thing.
She's a bit...
She's the perfect captain for the worst ship in the fleet, I suppose. Like, I love her as a character, but she definitely doesn't seem to know what's going on. Or what's
no, she doesn't. I don't think... I think that Freeman was not one of those people who socialized a lot.
Yeah.
Like, just maybe a bit of an introverted person who was happy.
Maybe a Reg type, but not quite so...
Exactly, right? Someone who was happy sort of doing the study, doing the work, doing the advancement, just doing that. And just that's what makes them happy,
Mm.
But it means that I wonder, like, she's just not up on a lot of the social bits.
No.
And her daughter is extraordinarily different.
Yeah.
Her daughter's very gregarious, even when she's sort of doing it in a backward kind of way.
A commando type. She can, like, very capable.
Decisive, yeah. Yeah, and I think probably shares that with a captain mom, but yeah, they have very different personalities, even though I think some aspects
Whatever,
of
Carol! You did not just call me Carol. Whatever, Carol.
You can tell, like, there's some moments where they're different, and the moments where they're similar are really what drive each other up.
Yeah, they're like scaling down. Speaking of a wall, they're scaling down that
that's
cliff
right.
together. Slower, Beckett. Make sure it does this. Look, maybe I should just go first. Look, I'm good at this. This is what I'm good at. Holy crap.
Well, I can only imagine how challenging it would be to be growing up with two increasingly high-ranked Starfleet officers as parents.
Who are, of course, probably pressuring you into Starfleet.
Well, and have high expectations because they've achieved great things themselves, right?
Mm.
Yeah, I can see a lot of ways in which, I mean, some of what she's doing is acting out to receive attention from her mother, which may also have been something that's been a pattern with her over her life, given that They spent long periods in space, possibly with their parents separated.
Mm-hmm.
Or, as we see in episodes like Brothers from TNG, actually,
Family?
the episode Brothers. Sometimes kids might be on a ship by themselves and their parents sabbaticaled somewhere else, right?
Mm.
So she may have spent
true, yeah.
long periods of time, much like the generations that grew up going
Jeremy
to boarding
or whatever.
school.
Was it Jeremy?
I think so. In the British Empire and that sort of thing, who would have grown up largely apart from their parents. And so their relationship and the moments in which they're going to relate to each other become very heightened, very important moments.
I found this one to be a very dense episode. This one definitely felt like a full TNG episode,
Yeah.
kind of condensed. Had your A and B plot both really kind of fleshed out. Guest characters like Captain Durango
Mm-hmm.
and the Admiral who says sensors.
Oh, yes.
Are you making fun of me?
He's great.
Sensors, yes, that sounds right to me.
Sensors.
Yes, I think it's sensors. Captain Freeman's playing along. Yes, I also say sensors. Mayor's like, no, you don't. This is crazy. What?
The only correct way to say it. Sensors.
Sensors. Yes.
Sensors.
Tuvok agrees. And so do we here on Locutors.
Locutors like sensors.
Yes, Locutors love sensors. And it also has, of course, the B-plot of Ascension guy.
Oh,
Who's trying
right.
to ascend.
That's
Or
right.
Is he? He actually wasn't just pretending to try to ascend. Just
Doesn't
stand
Ten-
out and have a
Is
thing.
it Tendi that desperately tries to help him
Yes,
do this?
Tessie just wants to see somebody ascend. And then
Yeah.
she gets obsessed with him because she messes up his ascension and now somebody doesn't like her and she can't handle that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No, I just can't handle when somebody doesn't like me, so... And they become best friends and almost die together. And then they save each other's lives. And then he does ascend, and it's horrible and prolonged.
Oh, I forgot.
It's sad, and it actually burns a little bit. Oh my god, why is this taking so long? I don't want to ascend. She's like, just, roll into corporeal, roll back into it. I am everything. The universe is balanced on the back of a koala. Why is he smiling? What does he know?
Oh, man.
That was intense. The first time I saw that scene, I think my heart was racing. That was an intense scene.
I really loved that scene, actually. It reminded me of this moment in the Phaedo of Plato, which is a dialogue where he talks about
Dogs.
Socrates dying, right? This is the death of Socrates, where he drinks the hemlock and then talks with his friends and then lies down on the couch at the end and dies. But in the midst of it, he talks about trying to literally have kind of mystical experience, right? Or sort of mystical union. And he says, the problem can be figured like staring at the sun. To really become identified with the sun in that sense is to lose your sight or to be annihilated in that sense. And so he says, what I use is a second best method, like seeing the sun reflected in a pond and sort of studying that, or that reflection. And then, of course, he dies of hemlock at the end of the dialogue, right? And there's a mirroring there for me.
Hemlock makes a
reminded
good
me
tea.
of
You
that.
just can't drink too much.
Don't drink. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that was a surprisingly sort of almost Lovecraftian ending to that
Yeah.
that episode.
And Durango's cool. We don't get to see Tellarites that often. It was cool seeing
Yeah,
a Tellurite
yeah.
captain. Even though he makes a big mistake because he seems to be sort of jealous of Carol or something like that. I don't know what's going on between those two. It's kind of weird.
No, it's true.
They used to
He's
serve together on the Illinois.
well, that's right. That's right.
But the other thing I love about that episode is the poker game. It's like executive poker game because they promote Mariner.
Oh, that's
Like,
right.
That's the best way to get her.
They make
give
her a lieutenant, don't they?
Yeah. So it's just doing the poker game, and apparently they just all fold every hand. This game's about to get interesting. I fold.
Terrible poker
Jack's like, good
players.
ups. He's always impressed by the folds. Like, he's always impressed by it. They promote Mariner. He's just like, Mariner, Weller. He doesn't pay attention, so he just assumes. Okay.
Ascension.
Gonna missile Shax. We're gonna get into that later.
Yeah.
Episode 5, Cupid's errant era.
Mm-hmm. That's right. This is one of those no, you don't really have a girlfriend sort of an extended version
Sure,
of that
you have a
joke.
girlfriend in Canada.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we wouldn't know her. Right.
On
right.
the Vancouver.
That's right.
Which is funny because they do a lot of like California kind of names and references in the show, and Vancouver is kind of like our little Hollywood corner.
Yeah,
here
it's
in
true.
Canada.
It's our sort of Hollywood of the North,
Yeah.
right?
Barbara Brinson is his real girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Real girlfriend.
That's true.
Not an alien.
Yeah.
Not a parasite. Not an alien parasite. That was actually Boimler. So he kept saying lover. It's been a long time since I've taken a lover. Dude, stop saying lover. They take the creature out. It's like, lover, 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 lover. So weird.
Oh, Mariner walks in on him. Oh.
She pantses the girl. She's an alien, see? Shoo. It's like, what was that?
In some ways, it was certainly one of the cringier episodes of the whole series. There were a lot of moments where I was like, oh, no, don't do
And
it.
of course, Tendi and Rutherford love the Vancouver. Think it's the greatest ship they've ever seen. Mariner's like, dude, it's like the same as the Cerritos. So like, what? Are you kidding me? Let's go see like the what was it, the bulkhead. It's probably double lattice. Double lattice! And they're looking for those T-88s.
Yeah, they're competing for T-88s.
T-80. Oh, that's right. Competing for the T-88s.
Yeah. It
Because
leads to some hijinks.
the engineer says they can keep them.
Mm-hmm.
One of them gets to keep. And
Yeah.
Tendi slaps him in the face to see if he's real.
That's right.
Sorry. Just making sure this wasn't... But it's funny though, like Boimler's girlfriend comes walking up and Mary's just like, end simulation? End program? We in a holiday?
Yeah, good episode. One of the more, to me, one of the more sort of straightforwardly comedic episodes.
Yep.
Yeah, and we
Funny episode.
we see the sort of that interesting dynamic between Mariner and Boimler developing where
She's really looking out for him in that one.
she is. Like they've become honestly good friends even though they refuse to admit it. Because they're both the kind of person each other wouldn't really like.
Yeah.
You know?
Or admit to anyway.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's sort of it has in that sense the structure almost of a rom-com, but they're becoming friends.
But which I like so much better.
I
the easy way out
really
and
like
too
that.
much storytelling is the romantic angle. And
Absolutely. And you can have whatever tensions in the dynamic you want, but I love it that what really happens is they become very, very fast friends over the course of that season.
Mm-hmm. And a good foil for each other because in a way they're also what the other person needs.
Absolutely. Yeah, they make it ultimately a pretty good team.
Yeah. So then we have episode 6, Terminal Provocations? Temporal Provocation? Terminal
Provocations.
Terminal Provocations, where we have Fletcher.
Yeah, the awkward but lovable Ensign Fletcher. He's kind of hapless.
Yeah. He's was he Boimler's buddy from back in the academy?
I think so, yeah. And we also have the first appearance of the
Badgie.
Dastardly Badgie. I mean, the very embodiment of
He's a slow loader.
Like that old Clippy from Windows.
Yeah.
And the holodeck glitch. Yeah, he's just murderous.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Badgie is murderous.
Well, Rutherford wasn't being very nice.
I suppose never quite did finish Badgie.
Oh no, I think Badgie was he just there were some glitches. Definitely some glitches.
There were some glitches.
Yeah. Of course Badgie does return.
Yes, Badgie makes kind of an interestingly anti-heroic return.
Yeah, we'll get into that here soon, but
Yeah, I liked that a lot.
me too. But
Yeah, good episode.
Good episode. Maybe not my favorite.
Badgie was certainly the most memorable part of it.
Yeah.
Fletcher was fun, but it's okay. So we move on to season 1, episode 7.
Yes.
Much Ado About Boimler.
Much to do about Bradford.
That's right.
All right.
So we have Mariner's friend, who's a captain,
Oh yes.
visiting, and
she's surprised that Beckett's still an ensign because they went to the academy together, these two, and they were kind of projected to end up in the same place, sort of at the same
indeed,
time.
and I think gives us a pretty good picture of the length thus far of Beckett Mariner's career.
Mm-hmm.
We know she's serving in 2380 and through much of the 2370s.
Mm-hmm.
We don't actually, I think, know when she was born or how old she is, right? She may be significantly older than Tendi or
Mm-hmm.
Boymler.
Yes, we don't really. You
Right.
just kind of assume she's the same age as Boymler, but.
I would guess she might be in her mid-30s or something, you know?
Hmm.
Not that it matters too much, but just gives her a little bit more time for that career growth that would allow her friend to already be a captain,
Mm-hmm.
who's obviously clearly a quick promotion track as well, seems to. And Boimler himself has had a transporter accident.
Oh no.
He is out of phase.
Oh
Not
yeah.
as badly out of phase as Jordy and
Because
Roe were that
of
time.
Rutherford's experiment, wasn't it?
I think so.
You know, it's just cosmetic.
That's right.
It's cosmetic out of phase because you're still
noise.
fine. Yeah, it's just a.
Yeah,
he just walks in and tries to continue like his day. And it's like, what does that sound?
It's just cosmetic.
It's just cosmetic.
Oh yeah, and
Go
you
see
know
Dr. Ta'ana.
while Rutherford does, I think, figure out how to turn off the annoying whine noise after a while.
Yeah.
He's still out of phase, and so is sent to a place where he can get the treatment he needs. He's going to the farm.
With the other freaks.
He's put on board a ship, a kind of a menacing-looking Starfleet ship.
Yeah, it's
It
funny
comes out of
because
a
we see so
lightning
many
storm,
accidents
basically.
in Star Trek, but they always get reversed.
It's true.
These are the ones that don't, and that's hilarious. And they do have a place for them to go.
Yeah.
We see a
Binding
Warp
Doan.
10 Salamander.
That's true. We do see a Warp 10 Salamander.
A guy who's aging and de-aging.
Oh, yeah. He's sort of like...
Two halves of his body. People that are like transported together, fused in like a transporter.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Oh, there's people in little pike boxes.
Yeah. Yeah. Several that have, what were those, gamma burns or something like that? So, yeah, there's all sorts of...
Like a
People
dilithium
with-
explosion, maybe?
Oh, yeah. Maybe it's dilithium.
Dilithium burns, you should be dead!
These are people, yeah, whose wounds have meant that they require a very high level of treatment, perhaps treatment for their entire lives.
Yeah,
And
perhaps,
possible Boimler might be one of them. Now, in the midst of all of this, Tendi and Rutherford have gone and done something fun.
Was Rutherford part of that too?
Well, no, but he just ends up following it around.
Oh, yeah.
Tendi has cooked herself up a pet.
Yes.
And she's made herself dog. A perfectly normal
Human dog.
human dog.
Human dog? Earth dog.
Earth dog. A human
Human
dog.
dog. Well,
Terran
that's sort
dog.
of more what Tendi thought.
Well, that's true. Who, of course, does all the normal dog things like talking and
Breathing fire.
randomly opening his neck hole to show a gaping, many-toothed maw for a moment.
Turning into a cube and rolling away.
That's true. Flying.
Yeah. You know, dogs don't do that, right, Tendi? They don't? What? Yeah, the dog ends up staying on the farm.
And it turns out dog is apparently relatively harmless.
Oh, sure.
Just a happy Labrador golden retriever monster. But in that sense, very much dog. Just loves Tendi and is kind of happy. But yeah, can't apparently imagine going anywhere but the farm, and will love being there.
It's a nice place.
Now, in the end, Mariner, of course, decides to drop what her friend calls on her as an act. She's been bumbling and messing things up and caught flat-footed and unprepared, and her friend has finally had enough. And this, I think, is a really interesting turning moment in the whole series.
We call her the friend because neither Dave nor I can remember her name.
I'm so bad with names. Even when I, have the internet in front of me, I'm bad with names. So, yeah, the two of them managed to avert the crisis that has befallen them. And I think, for the first time, Mariner, in a long time, Mariner feels like kind of herself in a way that she's happy with. And that's, to me, that's being recalled. Like that brought me back to a discussion we had a while ago about how we saw the differences between, say, just what we were discussing in that moment were our two favorite captains, Picard and Sisko. And that, in one sense, for Picard, the Federation is an abstract set of ideals. And that's what appeals to him about it. That draws him through his life. And for Sisko, it's the relationships, it's the camaraderie, it's the loyalty, it's the belief in what they can do together. It's the uniform. And I think for Mariner, it's starting to look like, or at least it's being hinted at in this episode, that what is sort of her Starfleet ideal is literally just being her best self and letting herself be that unabashedly, like getting over that kind of
She knows her high level
ironic
capabilities.
self-deprecation that she's involved in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the kind of parodying, and she's never going to be the kind of sincere, anxious guy that Boymler is, or the kind of just overflowing enthusiasm of Tendi and Rutherford. But
Pudding!
she's a great
What?
Starfleet officer, right? She's
Yeah,
an
she's
an incredibly competent officer.
Which is why I put her on my dream crew, and we see in an episode where the captain's just like, Mariner, I need a crazy plan now.
Exactly.
She's like,
Come
okay,
up with one. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it's a really great moment in Mariner's character, and a fun reversal of things in the farm B plot.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Adoan captain who just turns out
Yeah.
to be
He's like creepy, but he's not. He's just like,
his,
they just
it's
kept
just
it
his
dark
whole
in there.
affect is creepy, but he seems like a lovely guy.
Yeah, it's just like he didn't realize how creepy and weird and ominous the whole ship seemed.
Yeah, it just
He's
may
like,
have been perfectly happy for an Adoan. You know,
Yeah.
they don't like it. It's just like Cardassians like it darker and hotter.
Yeah.
You know.
But it like super is.
It really is very creepy. And then, it arrives out of a storm and thing. Yeah. Dun dun dun. Boimler reverts to his bad instincts.
And
of course,
they
in the
all
middle of that.
decide that the farm is not real. All the people on the ship, because a lot of them have been on it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like they're just going from place to place to pick all these people up. But they've all decided that the farm is not real.
Yeah,
And
and
they
if
get there and
they're
it's-
traveling at warp,
quite
or,
nice.
Federation standard, which is about warp 5,
Yeah,
it will take them months to go places.
yeah.
So they could well have been on this place for months or years.
But interesting, they weren't given any treatment and all that
Just
time. They're just
left in
locked
this
together.
dank hold. It's therapeutic for them, says the captain.
No, look, we're getting to the farm eventually.
Just suffer till we get there.
It was funny.
Oh.
What's the next episode? Crisis Point?
Next episode is called Veritas.
Oh, Veritas! Veritas.
Jeez. Looking for the truth. So this
This
has
is
all the
the-
hallmarks of a trial.
Yeah, so we didn't bring that up in our Justice episode.
The characters come up, on a
Mhm.
raised up thing into a bright light. There's a pit of eels. There's even the clangy glove thing with the spikes. and
Gavel
sparks.
gauntlets.
Yeah.
Mm.
All the and the sort of gallery of looming ominous onlookers. Everything that would make you think of a Klingon or a Cardassian style trial at the very least.
Turns out they were only renting that space for about an hour. Though. They get kicked out at the end. It was
I'm
like-
setting up for my daughter's birthday party.
They're like, who's that guy? He's all this creepy guy. He's like, oh, I'm just waiting for my daughter.
Yeah, so this really takes the premise of the episode Lower Decks in a certain sense and runs with it to brilliant comedic effect. We see 4 completely disjoint accounts of what each of our Lower Deck support crew were involved in. They don't really line up, and particularly Rutherford's. But all of them don't really entirely make sense as to what's really happening. It's a beautiful way of, and a really funny way of depicting that, that old saw about, truth being like an elephant in a dark room, and I found the end of the trunk, and you found, his knee back there
Mhm.
somewhere, and somebody else has found the end of an ear, and we all think we've got the whole darn thing.
I found the peanut.
The P what? But it turns out their lack of understanding of what's going on in the upper decks regions of the ship and the story extends even to the room they're in. Their command crew, who were suspended in light, they're just the light of adulation or something. I forget what it's called. Yeah, a great sort of upside down sort of story. You know, left is right.
Yeah, they all have their different version of the story, though they're all have the same goal, and they still can't tell the same story.
But I like the kind of synoptic character of truth there, right?
Yeah,
Because
well,
each one of them is telling the truth as they know it, but there's no guarantee that any of us has access to a sufficient amount of the truth.
it's like they say the
to
worst
give a coherent
testimony is
story.
eyewitness testimony.
Absolutely, right? I mean, especially when your cybernetic implant is going on and off repeatedly. That doesn't help. Now, from there, we move on to Crisis Points.
Crisis Point.
A brilliant piece of satire. Let's just say right off the bat.
You wanna bask?
We generally like to bask.
Like to bask?
Oh, we are delicious.
Well, we are delicious. No,
So-
you don't have to be eaten by these people. Oh.
What?
No,
That's not
like
true.
wouldn't you like to bask without being under threat of being eaten by these people? Like, well, that sounds pretty nice.
So we open on Mariner.
Mariner thinks she's doing a good thing here.
Yeah, doing what looks like a complete breach of the Prime Directive in the process.
True,
She's-
but not unlike ones we've seen
Oh.
before.
Sure. No. But
Mm.
again, one of those real has all the hallmarks of a breach of the Prime Directive.
Yep.
The captain beams down. They get in an argument about this.
Yep.
And again, one of those moments where the series really displays its deftness at really condensing a story and communicating it through the bare essentials plus great visuals and animation.
Great
You know,
visuals. They
The
definitely
cold
stepped those
open
up
of
a
that
bit.
story feels like an entire episode in itself.
It's true.
I literally, it turned on. I thought, did I just a minute? Did I start watching this episode already by accident?
Cool, the reptile episode.
Exactly.
The reptile and rat people.
Yeah, and then it takes a whole different turn.
Yeah, she starts a holodeck program.
Mm-hmm. Or hijacks Boimler's, I think,
Hijacks Boymler's, yeah.
because he's of
Oh
course.
yeah, she just like programs all this stuff in like 3 seconds.
Because Boimler has, he's created an entire faithful reproduction
Yeah.
of the ship and all of its inhabitants inside the holodeck.
And she creates a Beckett Mariner production starring Beckett Mariner. Bradford Boymler.
Let the psychoanalytic undertones just roll along here.
Samantha and Rutherford.
Yeah, it has lovely, really sort of Star Trek-y openings as well,
Yeah.
and lot of lens flare in this episode. Lot of lens flare in this episode, and has again a lot of interesting kind of love letter to Star Trek moments. There are clear references to Khan in this, several versions of Khan, as well as the kinds of stories that were sort of appropriate to Captain Proton and things like that. There's some stuff like that in there that feels fanciful in that way as well. What's your take?
I think this is the episode of Lower Decks that is actually trying to say something a little meta in a way here.
Okay. More meta than their usual, just sort of meta humorous
Meta, like
stuff.
we're aware of the wackiness of Star Trek and we're poking fun of it all. Yeah, beyond
But more
that,
meta than that. So what? In
This
what
one's-
sense do you mean?
I think this was perhaps, I don't know if it was Mike McMahon or somebody else writing it or whatever. I think it was an attempt to show that the things that like Mike McMahon grew up with, and he likes the TNG and stuff, and what this is like shows a love letter to, can still be done in an updated fashion.
You mean we don't have to?
We don't like. I think it's obviously poking fun at the lens flares and the.
Oh sure.
the-
Yeah. Some of
the-
those aesthetic
the
choices.
2009 movie and the ones after that and beyond, and I like Star Trek 09 actually.
Well, it's a fun movie.
Yeah, it's a
Real
fun movie.
And the thing I think it says in some ways most successfully to me, now that you got me thinking about it this way, is that some of the grimmest elements of Star Trek nevertheless occur in that overall frame. that we've come to know as sort of like the Star Trekkiness of the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that there's no conflict,
Mm-hmm.
even though Gene Roddenberry was pretty against conflict among crew members. And we see more of that developing the further we get from Gene Roddenberry.
Mm-hmm.
Even over Deep Space Nine, there's really brilliant space for conflict there. But those dynamics are faithfully adhered to because these are sort of real grown-up Starfleet officers doing their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's very little room for, I don't know, and I don't want to be disparaging by using this word, but there's very little room for what I would call sort of melodrama in Star Trek the way I understand the point you're making. There's a lot of drama. There could be tension, there could be excitement, there could be all sorts of stuff, but it's ultimately the sort of logic that the show is operating on that defines the ways in which the stories will tend to resolve themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some standout episodes that don't, like the Skria
Mm-hmm.
from Deep Space Nine, the Crystalline Entity. That's one of those ones that kind of brings to a punctuated, jagged stop the whole thrust of what the show is trying to do, but by virtue of that, highlights it. Yeah, I think that's a really great point. Clearly, you set off some fireworks in my head there.
Well, they're obviously having some fun.
Yeah,
With the movies a bit in that episode.
for sure. And I think they do get the sense in which the movies also like raise the stakes every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean the psychoanalytical quality of Mariner fighting Mariner.
Yeah.
And being the worse Mariner. Because how her logs represent her and how her friends see her and how even Boimler sees her, that shows up in the holodeck representation.
Well, they replaced Boimler with Shempo.
Well, that's true.
Poor Shempo.
Oh, Shempo. Oh, Shempo was great. But, but Boimler as the programmer, in that sense, who's seen it, right? Who knows her. It makes the point, Sartre decades ago made the point that sometimes other people know us better than we know ourselves because they see us from angles we don't,
Yeah.
both, literally and metaphorically. I think that's true here as well. And she's brought to this confrontation with who she thinks she is and who she sees, and it all falls apart. And it's really, very well done. So, on to maybe their best titled episode in the series. In the season, I like that.
Maybe
No
their best everything
Small
in the
Parts.
season.
Pretty great episode. Ooh,
The Return of the Packlids.
indeed. And even though this isn't
And
a
it
Star
really
Trek
evolved
movie,
them into something different. Which
oh yeah, I thought
an
it was a very
unbelievable
interesting
thing in a way, I thought.
Yeah,
'Cause they
consistent
just-
with who they were and who they
Yeah.
are. I think so.
They were shady characters.
Absolutely, and they had a drive which easily turned into a sort of a violent impulse.
Just love them in that TNG episode. Picard is there. You're the captain. How long have you been captain of that vessel? Like 15 years, and you don't know how it works. Like, do you know anyone? Is there anyone on your ship who can fix that part? Hold on, I'll ask.
Hold on, I'll ask. But that's the Packlids being conciliatory because they have.
They're trying to be sneaky.
They're trying to be sneaky, and they know that in a straight fight they probably can't take them. But if they can catch them off guard, and I love it that they call every Federation ship the Enterprise.
The Enterprise.
It's another Enterprise.
Oh no, it's another Enterprise.
But again, perfectly reasonable nomenclature from their perspective.
We use ship pieces to get ship pieces, and now we have all the ship pieces.
But yeah, as I was saying, in the midst of all this, it feels like a Star Trek movie in some ways because bits of the ship come off.
Yeah.
And that tends not to happen in episodes.
Yeah, even more than Crisis Point, this episode feels like a movie.
Absolutely, and I love that.
Yeah.
I watched them in quick succession the first time I watched them, and that really struck me that the first one is a sort of a satirical send up, and even a kind of a bit of an artistic critique of the difference
Modern
between
movies
Star
and
Trek
things.
movies and Star Trek.
Yeah.
And also the modern movies and some other stuff. Yeah. Some of the impulses that are being worked out there. But then they do this episode that feels like it could be a movie, but stays true to all the things that they were making sort of as critiques in that former episodes. They make their case in 9 episodes, and then they're like, okay, get ready for it, because there's no small parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, great episode.
Of course, cameos by William Thaddeus Riker and Deanna Troi.
And the USS Titan.
Gorgeous ship. So gorgeous.
A salute to the Titan. May she fly long and far.
Yeah. Mariner knows Riker. She's like, yeah, where do you think I get all my contraband? It's like, how much contraband do you have hidden on this ship, Beckett? Like, I don't know, lots, whatever, I don't know.
I like the discussion about the Jamaron.
This boy wants Jamaron. He wants Jamaron.
Oh my! But
love your sarong.
Yeah, the story, their eventual victory doesn't come without cost.
Oh, this makes me sad.
Yeah,
it was a big heroic moment. Like, definitely felt like a movie.
Absolutely.
He grabs Rutherford, throws him in a shuttle, and they fly into the Pac-led vessel to upload the virus that Badgie came up with. They had Badgie come up. Badgie's like, I've already come up with 3 because I'm always listening. Like,
I'm always
listening.
He's like the anti.
Well, he's even more angry now because now he's just like in this void of listening, and he's stuck in there all the time, and like he's kind of always on.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my God. Badgie's gonna be bad.
Badgie kind of exists in hell.
He's gonna he's the new Moriarty.
Exactly. But there's a lot of great moments in it, right? The shuttle thing reminded me of Data and Worf in the shuttle sneaking onto the Borg ship, or all sorts of, there's great moments that in themselves were solid pieces of storytelling that had those great links for me. That's another one of those things that makes it feel really Star Trek.
But of course, Shax sacrifices himself, kicking the crap out of some Pac-Lids.
Perhaps his paw let him.
But like big stakes, you don't expect to see that in a fun cartoon.
No. I mean,
they have the Star Trek kind of funeral where they fire his pod out into space and everything.
This is one of the things that impresses me about it as
I think they did.
As a series. They're both allowing themselves to be a lighthearted comedic series, but also to develop in a more serialized fashion.
It felt like the death of Tasha Yar.
It did, and it made me think that the whole first season has a coherence.
It's better because it's just not being killed by a slime monster.
Yeah. The development that we see there, I think, is indicative of a way to do Star Trek that blends the best of what I think we've described as both worlds, which is that episodic approach that can, find strange new worlds and civilizations around every corner, mixed with the serialized storytelling that made Deep Space Nine so compelling, especially as it builds to its crescendo. And this whole season really built to a brilliant crescendo. That
really did. Of course, the Titan comes swooping in, and it's amazing. And they're playing the TNG music while they. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
I found myself singing along at that point.
Yeah, I was. Get him, Riker.
I was sitting watching it on the deck on the side of my house, and I realized I was singing quite loudly and looked up, and someone walking their dog to the park near my house beside me was just looking over my fence at the odd man going outside his house. But you know what? It's okay.
Oh yeah, one of the best Riker moments.
Oh yeah, it was great. Yeah. I really, that's really what sticks out.
Oh no, another Enterprise!
Okay, one of my favorite lines.
Mine too. There's so many
Enterprise.
Another Enterprise.
Yeah, it's good, solid Star Trek.
It is.
Right the way through. Well, I think our journey out to the to the Cerritos has brought us back around, limping back to a starbase near you.
And perhaps our elevation to the upper decks.
You never know. I think, for now, we've got ourselves to a point where it's appropriate to say, end transmission.